Hey guys, it's Smudgy from Redcoat Apparel. Today we have Will in and we're going to be talking about his time in Afghanistan. Enjoy guys.
My name is Will Watkins. I served in a unit called 473 Special P Battery. I served for a total of 8 years in that unit with a total serving years of 11 years. During my time of service in that unit, I served 3 tours to Afghanistan. First one being Op Herrick 6 in 2007, Op Herrick 10 2009 and Op Herrick 14 in 2012. So in preparation for my second tour, Op Herrick 10, we were attached to the Welsh Guards battle group. I liked it, being a Welsh boy. I could speak Welsh with some of the lads and actually went to school with some of the lads in the company that we were attached to, so that was quite nice. Due to the nature of my unit, we provided joint fires, precision strike capability, so then we were re-rolled into the fire support team sort of elements, attached arms. So as part of the FST team, fire support team, there was myself, Eddie and Scott as a JTAC and an AC. So we could split our team into two elements, and we had a full FST capability, but within one team, which is quite rare for the fire support teams that were out in theatre at that time. Lo and behold, on the tour we did get split, but that's too far forward. So in the build-up training, we deployed to Germany to do some sort of PDT, pre-deployment training, with the Welsh Guards battle group. Went great. They loved our capability. At first, there's always that, oh, who are these guys, or who are they, rocking up looking alley. So we had to prove our worth, and we sure did on those exercises. We drilled our training to the point where it came second nature, so that when the company commander was like, we're like, already on it, boom, there, you happy? He's like, yeah, do it. Boom, smashed it. So our job ultimately was to just fucking smash everything with whatever capability we had, and we did. But going on to the tour, myself and the guys that had been out there previously, we were raring for it, we're good to go. The lads that was their first tour, we could we not educate them, but we could enlighten them as to what to expect. First-hand knowledge is always best. So I like to think that they felt comfortable with us being our second tour, and so close. We were only there a year ago. So rolling into that tour, a lot of the Welsh Guards, that was their very first tour as well. So, the company commanders, they had ultimate faith in us because we'd been there before and we knew our job and we proved our worth in training. So that was a good rapport that we had with the command element of the companies and the battalion. Going into theatre, we went there. The fire support teams, they deploy 5 to 6 weeks before the main battle group, purely to get sort of a good solid handover. Because precision strike and indirect fire is such a crucial and dangerous part of operational tours, really they need good continuity, so that's why you have the 6-week handover. During that 6-week handover, we came into quite a large ambush. It was myself and Kev. We were attached to the PWRR. They were in their last month of operational tour, and it was just a routine familiarization patrol for us to get used to the ground, and just a reassurance patrol for them, for the local population. So the first friendly forces location we rolled into was Fort Argyll, Nadi Ali. It was occupied by the PWRR, Prince of Wales Royal Regiment. They were on their last month of their tour, first month of ours for that continuity, and we were literally rolling out for the first patrol. The general feel of it, they had quite a kinetic tour, but only in the sort of the spring offensive. So towards the end of the tour, that's where it picked up for them. rolling into ours. Luckily enough, I'd been there before, so I sort of knew the crack. I knew atmospherics. So you almost like your sixth sense picks up on an intimate contact. So you'll be on patrol and you just get that feeling like shit's going to kick off in a minute, and lo and behold, 90% of the time it does. So going out on the first patrol, our first patrol, for that familiarization of the ground, getting a feel for it, and for me, like the atmospherics had changed, and I probably put that down to the absence of the local population. At the beginning of the patrol, we saw kids, women cutting around, guys in the field farming. Halfway through the patrol, they sort of disappear a little bit, and then you have that weird calm before the storm. That's where the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And from my experience from my first tour, I knew that was a target indicator. I even came over the radio and said, "Lads, heads on the swivel. I think it's going to kick off in a minute." And 60 seconds later, the earth opened up.
Well, it's hitting that fucking tree there. It's coming from over there.
What I could only say was 4 positions. Later on, it turned out to be, I think, 5 different positions, but it was clearly an ambush on that crossroads, and they'd hit us bang on. The centre of our patrol was bang on the centre of that crossroads, so I'd safely say that was an ambush. Everyone, their immediate action was to jump into the ditch for cover and then try and PID the enemy firing points. For some reason, I ran across this little bridge of the irrigation ditch into a little wooden hut. I thought that provided me decent cover. I had thought that the enemy firing points would come from maybe the 1-2 o'clock. They actually came from 12 all the way around to 6 o'clock. It was almost like a linear ambush. So I got into this little wooden straw hut, and I'd easily say 3 of the firing points saw me go to do that, and they all switched fire on me in that little hut, and I hit the deck because the rounds were cracking through the wooden structure that I was in. I tried to crawl down into the irrigation ditch, and that's when we heard "man down." For some reason, I just immediately got up, legged it across the road into the ditch. That wasn't my job to do that. I was there to provide fire support to the multiple commander, to the platoon commander. But I got over there, the platoon commander was there. I was like, "Where is he?" He's like, "He's in the ditch." So I dropped my day sack off, which had my radio in it. Kev also had a radio to call for fire. I then proceeded to jump in the ditch, head forwarded, which as soon as I found out I got to Casualty, the enemy firing point was 10 metres in front. got there, they pointed out where the enemy was. I grabbed his LMG, I proceeded to engage the target. I should have just used my rifle because the LMG kept stopping. I kept trying to clear it, stoppage, stoppage. Threw that to one side and then used my actual rifle to engage. All the lads pulled back. I then peeled back myself, went to treat the casualty, albeit that wasn't my job again. I should have been queuing up the sort of the precision strike, the UAVs. However, I had faith in Kev to be doing that. Turns out that the round had actually hit his body armour and skimmed his leg, not actually penetrated him. So he was very lucky there. At that point there, I proceeded to engage the other enemy targets, and that's when the Royal Marines rolled in with their Vikings. I'd like to say I was calm after that contact. I definitely had the old shaky leg, the sort of adrenaline coming down from that, and being the first patrol of that tour. Obviously, I'd been in contacts just like that the year prior, but it was definitely another wake up. Welcome to Afghanistan 2009, and that definitely set precedents for the rest of the tour. The theatre changed, I'd say, within 6 weeks of being on tour. So it went from the conventional fight in the Taliban to then IEDs everywhere, almost overnight. We had freedom of movement prior to the IEDs 24/7. We could move at night, at day, wherever we wanted. All we had to worry about was small arms engagements. IEDs came and it changed theatre for the rest of the war in Afghanistan. We couldn't move at night because we couldn't see, and the troops hadn't trained using the metal detectors at night well enough to be confident to do it. When we moved it during the day with the metal detectors, the Valens, it took an hour to move 200 meters. And that gave the Taliban just free rein, and they were literally running rings around us. Afghanistan 2009, I think to that year, that was the bloodiest year. I know the Welsh Guards battle group lost someone of every rank from private through to lieutenant colonel. So the CO died on that tour as well. So it was very different to Herrick 6. in terms of IEDs. We didn't have to worry about on Herrick 6 at all. Herrick 10 was a game changer for Afghanistan. So fast forward on that tour, towards the end of the operational tour, our fire support team was broken down again. So not only have we been broken down once at the beginning of the tour, but for a second time. So I pushed up to bolster up the fire support team for 2 Company up at the top of the Shamalan Canal at Fob Wahid. It's still Nadi Ali. And it was the FOB was in its infancy, so it was just been established. There was no sort of protection around it. It was literally someone's farmhouse that we'd occupied. The helicopter landing site, also referred to as HLS, was between us and the enemy. Crazy, I know, but that's where it was. I'd been there a week or so, and we'd been contacted every morning, every lunch and every evening, pretty much bang on time each day from pre-dug enemy positions. And obviously we put them down as pre-recorded targets, so that when we got attacked, all I had to do was radio through to the mortars and give them the pre-recorded target number, and then as long as I had permission from the company commander, we'd engage them. So it's pretty easy. This one morning we'd had the first contact of the morning, as we had done all week. We dealt with that fine. We had a Chinook sport helicopter scheduled to come in and pick up the counter IED team. So basically their job was to go out and exploit IEDs, either to blow them up in place or to take them out for forensics to take a look at them. So they'd spent their time with us, and they were moving to another op or back to Bastion, wherever they were going. So they were stacked up ready to get on the Chinook. JC, the JTAC, was next to me talking to the Apaches. At the time, there was a massive communication issue between aircrafts and the JTAC on the ground. So the JTAC deals with all aerial assets on the ground. So in order to speak to the support helicopters, he had to speak to the Apaches, who then spoke to the support helicopter, because they were completely different frequencies, completely different radios. So there's a slight delay in terms of from information from the ground to the Chinook, from information from the ground to the Apache to the Chinook. So the JC had given the all clear for the Chinook to come in. Chinook landed. First person got on, second person got on, and we were all manning the wall because we pretty much knew that there was going to be some sort of attack on the Chinook. And lo and behold, that round went straight through the cab of the Chinook, and the pilot was having none of it. He was like, "I'm gone," and he just lifted up and took off. Unfortunately, there was a lass called Liz, part of the IDD team. I think she was engineer or RLC. It escapes me, but it doesn't matter. She was on the tailgate as he took off, and at around the 15-foot mark, she fell out. When the Chinook took off, it did a brownout, but you could see her just fall off, and everyone was like, "Shit!" And she disappeared into the dust. Straight away, everyone was like, "Man down." We knew that was going to be some sort of casualty. And as the Chinook was egressing out, the actual Lodi fell out as well, but he was on his lanyard, and he was dangling from the back of the Chinook on his lanyard. I can only imagine what the guys in the back were thinking. A, to see Liz fall off, and then the Lodi dangling by his lanyard, by his safety lanyard. So, and he must have been crapping his pants. So if we could find him to chat to, it'd be great, because I switched fire from looking at him to, and I was like, right, I'm just going to go out and see what the crack is. So I jumped down from where I was occupying the wall, out of the fob. I went round. A few lads fanned out to give cover and fire. I went straight to the casualty. Upon looking at Liz, the way she was lying was odd. I was just like, that doesn't look right. At the time, I didn't know she had a fractured femur, but it just didn't look right. And I sort of knelt down next to her, and I put my hand on her leg, on her thigh, and she screamed, and I was like, "Ooh, sorry." And her helmet was choking her, and the lad was about to take her helmet off. I said, "Be careful of her C-spine. She's just fallen 15 foot." We were very wary of, I was very wary of a spinal injury due to the height she'd fallen from. However, the ground and the contact didn't lend itself to be hanging around there. So we literally threw her on the stretcher and then straight into the fob. Because the fob was premature, went straight into the med center, which is a dark room, which was a nightmare to deal with a casualty, but it was also cool and all the med kit was in there. So we went in, we got her in. I had my head torch, banged it on, and I sort of took control of that casualty. There was a medic there, not to slate him, but he wasn't as medically experienced as I was, due to the med courses that we do in our unit. So I took over that situation. I delegated and tasked, did primary survey, secondary survey, and we started to deal with her. Unfortunately, she started to deteriorate pretty quickly. I'd established that she had a fractured femur protruding, fractured pelvis, fractured forearm, fractured collarbone, fractured jaw, fractured cheekbone, suspected C-spine. So then we started doing some sort of packaging ready for her to be shipped back to Bastion. So at that point, we were just sort of managing those. We'd heard that there was a Pedro in the overhead, so that they're the American pararescue. They deal with sort of the med side of things. And they were landing in 2 minutes time. So at that point they were like, right, let's package her the best we can and get her to the professionals. So I tasked 2 guys to do the traction splint on her femur to try and get it straightened out. We put the pelvic splint on for her pelvic fracture. We put a SAM splint on her forearm. That wasn't getting straightened out there and then, so we just made sure it was secure and wasn't going to move. We tried to get an IV line in. Unfortunately, she had venal failure, so she'd lost quite a lot of blood internally. And she was on the way out, and we'd controlled the C-spine. So we literally packaged her up. I did a handover, wrote quick handover. Pedro landed, and she was gone. We heard nothing of her progress after that. I was affected by that quite a bit. I'd seen male casualties, probably 20 up until at that point, and that was the first female casualty I'd come across, and I'd say for a good 5 days I wasn't myself. I was very withdrawn, very distracted. Guys probably saw it but didn't say anything, but I sort of shook it off after that and then got back into rhythm, and then we finished that tour.
Massive thank you to Will today for telling his story. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe, like the video, and hit the notification button for more videos on a history of violence. Cheers, guys. And initial thought was grab my fucking med kit and run over. So I grabbed my med kit and I made my way towards Danny. Fucking about 2 meters away from the vehicle, the boss shouts over, "Smudge, stop fucking mines." And straight away I fucking froze. I froze in spot. And all that was going through my head was, I need to get Danny, I need to get Danny.